Good evening, everybody. This is Darius Assemi, your host at GVWire Unfiltered. Welcome to another great show on this beautiful Tuesday evening, election night, by the way, in several parts of our country. I'm going to talk briefly about a couple of the election results. Matter of fact, I'm going to dive into it here in about 2 minutes. But first, we have two awesome guests joining us tonight. Patience Milrod, who's a citizen activist and a lawyer, has worked with cities for, gosh, decades. She's joining us to about her thoughts about the process. She's very process oriented. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but making sure the right process is followed, the right representation for growth of our cities here, at least in Central California. Um, she's well, that's all I'm going to say. She's worked a lot with development, understands development really well. She's joining us here shortly. Matter of fact, in less than 5 minutes to discuss the growth of the city of Fresno and what makes sense. And then we're going to have a slightly different format because Patience has to leave shortly. Then after we have that discussion, which will probably take 3 hours. Kidding. Which will take probably 15 to 20 minutes. Then we're going to bring back do our regular round robin about the items that we typically cover. A lot of the issues with the Middle East, local, anything that's happening local. Bill has quite a few items on local coverage, including other issues relating to the city of Fresno and CHP issues. And then finally, Leon Orndorff is going to talk about a lot of the state gun laws. Are they changing? What's happening with Glock? I know there's a lot of folks are talking about Glocks are not available anymore in California. Leon will kind of fire away on some of those key components. So, a couple of quick points, and then I'm going to bring Patience on. First of all, let's look at the weather. Fantastic weather. Another awesome week in the 70s. Are we in Newport Beach, California? Or no, we're better actually, more affordable than Newport Beach. But look at that fantastic weather. Chance of rain potentially tomorrow, but the next storm looks like next Wednesday. Could be hitting Central California. Should California secede from the United States and become a separate country? It's interesting. Almost 60% of you said no. There have been several attempts to actually secede. That will be coming up sometime next year or next few years because we know we ship more money to the feds than we get back. What is that number? 80 to 100 billion short every year. Should people with dual citizenships be allowed to serve in Congress? The overwhelming majority of you said yes, almost 69%. So I'm a citizen of another country. I can serve in the United States Senate or Congress or House of Representatives, according at least to the GB Wire Facebook poll recipients. Under Governor Newsom, California has enacted some of the nation's toughest gun laws. I feel less safe because of these laws. 52% of you said gun laws don't necessarily make me safer. So with that, let me skip to our SEDA slides and bring in Patience. Welcome, Patience, and good evening. Let's put a map of the boundary of SEDA, so you can actually. Oh, you know what? Hold on 1 second. Hold on a second. Let me now get the first results on. Okay, so Democrat Spanberger wins Virginia governor's race. Let me make that announcement as Trump's agenda faces early test. Are we going to have a massive blue wave across the country starting tonight and go on into most of next year? It sure seems like that's the start. And then the first results, Zoran Mamdani, who is the favorite, immigrant from Uganda, Muslim immigrant from Uganda, social democrat, socialist democrat, left of center, campaigned on freezing rents, free buses, free childcare for I'm not sure for who in New York City. Looks like is ahead of former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and both of them are blown out. Curtis Sliva or Silva. I'm not sure. I may have it right or not, but it is Mamdani. So many people have mispronounced his last name, but there he is, and we'll be following that throughout the night. Okay, so let me go back to Seda. So that's the boundary of where, I know it's hard to see. There you go. Thank you, Paul. So it's really eastern Fresno, east of Fresno, city of Fresno, on the east edge of the city. It's about 9,000 acres. Was introduced by not governor, Mayor Autry back in 2007, 2008. Got approved. A lot of acres that came into the sphere of influence of the city of Fresno, and a lot of folks supported it. As was going to be a new way that folks um, will be live, work, and play at a new suburbia with all of its services. It's taken a long time to get going. The only development that I know that has occurred in that area is the Clovis Unified Terry Bradley Center, which, let's put that image up, slide 26. It's if I remember correctly, $600 million, 165 acres, 630,000 square foot building with a Save Mart Center style uh, auditorium, stadium, whatever you want to call that, state of the art. Every parent is going to want their kid to go there. Parents will going to probably want to go there, watch football games there. And there is a video drone shot from GB Wire's Jaws Tello when the place was under construction. A lot of money has poured in. I'm sure it's a combination of local bond money, local tax money, school fee money, and state bond money. And it's most of it is finished. I know school is in operation. I'm not sure we have any of the more recent pictures of the place. But going back to Seda, it used to be called. Patients corrected me before the show started. Used to be called Sega, Southeast Growth Area, and now the new name is Seda, Southeast Development Area. Why should you care? Well, because if you want to buy a new home and you want to stay in the city of Fresno and want to be in Sanger Unified or Clovis Unified, one of the only options for the next 15 years is going to be in this area, in the Southeast Development Area, which could be home to several thousand, well, between 9 and 15,000 new homes. There's several objections to this plan today. And the city of Fresno claims they don't have the money to develop it and bring in all the services, especially sewer and water services. They claim $1 billion price tag. And I'm going to bring up this point as we start, as patients opines on Sega. Why isn't the city of Fresno recommending what we call a batch plant for a sewer plant, similar to what Madera County has built at Tesoro Viejo and at Riverstone, plus its own water supply system. There's property actually adjacent to the school, which is owned by Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control. If my memory is correct, it's at least 200 acres, not developed yet, but it could be a great site for sewer effluent potential and or water supply. So with that, let me bring in Patience. Patience Milrod, welcome to Unfiltered.
Hi, Dennis. It's nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us this evening. So tell us about your challenges on why SEDA should. First of all, I'm going to ask you: should SEDA develop the way it is, and if not, what should it look like, and where should people be looking to move to buy new housing?
So maybe SETA is an okay idea. The problem is there's a ton of information we don't have, including how are we going to pay for this? And how are we going to pay for SETA, we as a city, and also attend to the $1.5 billion ish price tag that is attached to fixing local streets and fixing local sidewalks and making sure there are street trees and parks and paving roads and doing all those things that people. I live in the Tower District, and they put speed bumps in front of our house. Yay! Meantime, they didn't pave the street, which is full of holes. And now, in order to pave the street, they're going to have to go back and remove the speed bumps and pave the street. And so there's some inefficiency going on, obviously, but we're talking about major, major dollars. And as a taxpayer, I would like those my tax dollars to pay for the deferred maintenance that exists all through, not so much in northeast, not so much in northwest, but just basically everything south of Herndon needs to some degree or other needs is missing infrastructure or has infrastructure that needs to be repaired or doesn't have sidewalks at all or has partial streets where you're driving down a 4 lane street and all of a sudden it's 2 lanes. Just not a good system, right? And those of us who pay taxes, we look to the city to be responsible to repair those things. So SETA, um, the just for the infrastructure, the price tag we've been told is $4.3 billion. So, okay, that's a lot of money. Um, to me, this feels a little bit like the question. I mean, as the city, I want the city council to ask itself the question that my family asks itself when we think about buying a new car. Can we afford it? Can we buy this new car and also keep our roof in repair and also pay for plumbing repairs, whatever? So it looks like the answer to that is no. The city uh, commissioned a study by some certified smart people who do this kind of thing, who came back and said, yeah, SETA will not support itself, cannot pay for itself. So as somebody who lives in the city of Fresno, I would like to know that if you're going to spend a bunch of money out in an area that right now nobody, no Fresnan lives there. It all would be annexed. None of it is part of the city of Fresno yet. If you want to spend a bunch of money out there, I want to know that you will receive so much revenue as a result of that that you can reinvest into the center city and pay for what needs to be done already in the city. And honestly, it's sort of, well, if you were the professor, you would give the reporting that's been done about SETA, you would give it an F. It's just really terrible. And there's so much information that's not available, not just how are we going to pay for this, but also what's the fiscal impact on the city going to be? Like that basic, like you do your budget, right? I have this much income, I have this many expenses. If I decide to invest in something, is that going to bring me enough revenue where I can still pay my expenses? And we do not know the answer to that question about the city's investment in SETA. So as far as I'm concerned right now, it's just irresponsible to do it. And given given the fact that population growth is less than a tenth of what it was 20 years ago, there's the city could invest in SETA and no one would move there, and then there's no revenue or inadequate revenue to justify the investment. So that's a few of the reasons. I'm trying to not get in the weeds because that is sort of my default mode, but I'm going to see if I can avoid that today. So, but that's an outline of what the concerns are.
Great, great. You make actually great points, Patience. I have several questions for you, but where do you see, you know, yes, growth rate is has shrunk. Job growth in Fresno in Fresno County and City of Fresno is actually higher. The growth rate is higher than state of California and the rest of the country. Where should new families be looking to live if you
Well,
can't move to that area?
last last week, the city council approved the West Area plan. That
Mhm.
added something like 60,000, 70,000 sites that will accommodate 70,000 homes. The housing element, which is the city's report on its housing inventory, has shows another something 30 or 40,000 within the city boundaries, not including say SEDA. So there are plenty of places for people to buy houses and plenty of places for developers to build. That doesn't mean developers want to build there. I understand that they would much rather the ROI, the return on investment for a home that they build up by the Terry Bradley Center is going to be higher than the home they build over on the in the West area. I understand that, and gosh, that doesn't mean that the city of Fresno ought to invest billions of dollars so that developers can get a higher ROI. When the mayor stood up in front of the city council and said, I thought I would fall out of my chair. He stood up and he said to the city council at the workshop on SEDA in May, he said, this city has been subsidizing developers for decades. And I'm like, oh, hallelujah, somebody's telling the truth about this. So, it's time to not do that anymore. And I don't see any reason in the world why we should put a lot of money into something that really nobody wants except developers who would prefer a higher ROI on their product. That just doesn't make good sense in terms of public policy.
As a developer, let me say this: developers typically, to be successful, we have to respond and react to market conditions. If home buyers want to go into a certain area, guess what? The developers will go to be successful. They got to go find out what their customers want and deliver that product. Now, can customers change their minds? West of 99 was you know, west of the railroad tracks for a long time. It was taboo, not taboo. It was just not a. It was a less popular part of town, and a lot of it is because lack of services, lack of shopping mainly, uh, and schools. Most of that has been addressed. You have Veterans Boulevard that actually lands in that area, at least to Shaw Avenue. You have the Justin Garza, or I should say, Collegiate Educational Complex, K through 12, which is really an attractive uh, educational center, opened up. So that part of town is actually slowly shifting with investment from government, from school districts, and from the county of Fresno, basically creating a good east-west connector. There's still some challenges in that area. We're developing in that area currently. Um, Shaw Avenue is congested over the freeway or over 99. So there's still a few challenges. So if the city or the county or state government were to invest, then more folks would be looking at the 70,000 homes. And I don't know if I haven't actually heard that number before, but 70,000 homes that the West Area Plan, um, just recently adopted. Now, having said that, right on the backs of that, you have the new vehicle miles traveled tax that new home buyers and businesses are going to pay. And guess what? That's one of the highest areas is going to be southwest area and west of 99. So new stuff is going to the west area plan is fresh, but city of Fresno is imposing a new tax. It's a state law. You have to follow state law, but there's so many options. As an example, some of us, actually me mainly, has asked the city, why not allow us to create mixed use developments so it becomes more walkable. I mean, I grew up in Tehran, Iran. I'm an immigrant. You know that well. And every neighborhood, regardless of the socioeconomic status, had its own butcher shop, bakery, you know, ice cream shop, and it was all walkable. I remember I used to get home from school. My mom said, "Okay, here's a couple of bucks. Go get a fresh bread, get some meat, get some tomatoes, and I would walk over with a basket and bring it back home. And it was at this center square in this neighborhood. And so I've asked the city, those of us that want to create those mixed use neighborhoods, give us the opportunity because we know that VMTs are going to be vehicle miles traveled or the car traffic is going to be lower. But the answer is no. Once the fee is in, doesn't matter
I'll
what you
help
do to
you.
your neighborhood.
I'll help you. I think that's really important. I see that Bill has his hand up, so I'm going to be quiet now.
Yeah, Bill. Uh, yeah.
What's interesting about the VMT, I just wanted to point out to patients, she said, no one wants SATA except the developers. Certainly Clovis Unified wants SATA because they had successive administrations at Fresno City Hall tell them, buy this piece of land at this location, build it there, we are coming. And, Clovis Unified, successful school district, but City of Fresno has done them wrong on more than one occasion. So um, maybe
So,
the lesson for Clovis Unified is don't buy land until something's approved and going. But this is considerable expense for Clovis Unified and a lot of infrastructure challenges because the city of Fresno hasn't lived up to its word. And then one other thing, Patience, you said, it was very interesting to me. You talked about the Halloween out of the city, and you may have said it before you came on the air, but you said the suburbs incorporate into new cities. And what we've seen in Clovis with their urban village model is they remain in the city of Fresno. And also, at some point, you'll have to balance out when you look at the Southeast, are these are developers going to continue to run to Madera County and build in uncorporated areas where tax return is very much lower back to the citizens and, forsake Fresno when we have an opportunity to have it in the city limits. So just my observations and part of the juggling act.
so good questions. And if the city wants to capture new development, it needs to be able to show that the new development will compensate the city for the expenditures the city has to make to serve those new houses. So that's the problem. And at this point, the studies show that the city commissioned shows that SETA will not support itself. It will not even pay the city back for the city's investment in in the new area, let alone produce an additional increment that the city can use other places. So that's the question. It's a question of of making responsible expenditures. And if the Clovis Unified were so foolish as to assume that the mayor can speak for the city council and can legislate in advance, then I'm just surprised. I always think of them as being the Clovis as being very savvy and smart and doing good planning and whatnot. But I don't know why in the world, given the vagaries of politics in this area, why they would bank on that. That's that representation. I'm sure nobody made the representation with any ill intent, but it just things don't always turn out the way you think they're going to. So, oh well, I'm yeah. So I think I'm at the end of my time, and I know people
Well,
want to hear about
no,
guns.
wait a minute. A couple more questions for you. But by the way, that analogy kind of reminded me of Ukraine when they gave up their nuclear weapons. When Bill Clinton said, we got this thing, whatever the treaty was. You give up your nukes. United States, Russia, and Great Britain will protect you. And look at what happened. So don't give up. Don't rely on somebody else's promise. You got
Right.
to defend. You got to defend yourself. Uh, let me see if there's any questions for on patients on our feed. No. So basically, what your point is, development needs to pay for itself, uh, and SEDA doesn't pay for itself. And even the mayor admitted in April or May that Fresno has to stop subsidizing developers. Is that right? He said something along those lines.
I'm just
Um,
quoting the mayor, May 2nd, I
May,
think. Yeah,
got it.
yeah,
And west of 99 just got approved. Gorgeous West area new plan, except the new tax is going to probably pass this Thursday. We're going to watch the vote very closely. And who wants to tax? By the way, we have discovered a lot of errors in their math. and maybe I'll catch up with you tomorrow to share some of those with you, because it's really unfortunate. Fresno has so many opportunities to develop beautiful mixed use developments for those of us that want to actually look at master planning, to have a mix of products. We've done that at Copper River, combination of shops, restaurants, apartments. Now, none of it is, ultra low income, but there's a variety of, you can move into Copper River with a $60,000 income. Um, and rent a unit all the way through buying a very expensive home directly across the street from where you live. So, okay, Patience, any final comments before you leave us tonight?
I just do want to say this. I love your vision for the West Side. I love the idea. I love the image of you as a little kid with the shopping basket. That's adorable. But apart from that, I think that is a I live in the Tower District for a reason. It's a lovely way to live. And so we should talk about how to, because I'm surprised the city's saying no, we don't want to do that. So I'm interested in helping that happen, because I agree with you. VMT is an issue, and our air quality will be better for it if you do the good planning. So good on you, as Molly Ivins would say.
Thank you,
So,
Patience. I'll circle back with you tomorrow.
all right. Talk to
Awesome.
you then.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Nice to
Thank,
see you, Bill. Take care. Bye bye.
thank you, Patience. Okay, let's dive into the balance of the show. We're at the 6:30 mark. Oh, and there's a question came in, that how could the city help market the SEDA to get more people excited? Patience just left us. That's really a question for the city. But here, I'm going to quickly go through um, some of the stuff that we've got. Let me actually next, as we're talking about the city of Fresno, put up Mike Carbassi's report, and then we're going to get into Mr. Orndorff to talk about guns and roses. I mean, I'm sorry, guns and California. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. But let's play the video for pre-recorded message by Council President Carbassi.
Happy Tuesday, November 4th to our Unfiltered audience. This is your exclusive City Council update. I'm Mike Carbassi, City Council President for the Fresno City Council. And we have Election Day. So a couple of updates on that before we get to our update on the council meeting this Thursday. It is Election Day. No matter how you want to vote, please make sure to go and vote. If you're watching this show, polls don't close until 8 o'clock. You can take your absentee ballot and deposit it in a vote box. Or if you're like me and want to vote in a more secure fashion, you'll want to go vote at the polls. And there are vote centers throughout this community. City of Fresno does have election monitors out there to make sure there are no shenanigans, in addition to the State Department of Justice and the Federal Department of Justice watching how elections are run in Fresno County. And speaking of that, if you're a resident of Orange Cove or Parlier or Mendota, you may have heard that you don't have a vote center in your community, which is a huge oversight by the elections office in the county. It's completely unacceptable. Every incorporated city should have a vote center when folks can be able to go and vote, especially in our rural communities, because they face transportation issues. Having to drive out of your town 15, 20 minutes to go cast your vote if you want to vote in person, which is your right. Not being able to do that because of transportation challenges and not having a vote center, unacceptable, and that has to change. So I do want to applaud Mayor Victor Martinez of Mendota and Brian Pacheco, supervisor for that area from Fresno County, and also the advocacy of Assemblymember Soria for pushing the elections department to open up a vote center that my understanding is being staffed by folks in the city of Mendota and Supervisor Pacheco himself. That's real leadership, not excuses, but answers. I applaud them for actually ensuring that the voters in Mendota aren't disenfranchised. Now all we got to do is make sure the folks in Orange Cove and Parlier and the rest of this county exercise their ability to vote however they want to do it. Now, going back to our council meeting this Thursday, November 6th, 9 a.m., you can watch on YouTube. A lot of heavy land use items on the agenda. We've talked about VMT, vehicle miles traveled. This is a new, we'll call it a tax on new homeowners that will go into a fund to fund projects throughout this city. And there's a lot of questions still to be answered. We want to make sure we have a balanced approach. If there are things that can be done to lower this cost while complying with the intent of the state law, which is to reduce emissions and help our environment, we need to explore those options to make sure we pass good policy. Another item is the Ministerial Office to Residential Zoning. This is something that has had a lot of controversy, but I'm encouraged by another opportunity to take a stab at it and work with colleagues and see what compromise we can achieve. The idea is converting vacant office zoned land to residential to increase housing, but doing it in a way that is informative to the neighborhoods so they can have a say in the process. And I believe we're going to find a way to get there. We'll just see how the debate goes, but the only way you can know is if you watch. So please do tune in to our council meeting. You can watch on YouTube this Thursday, November the 6th at 9 a.m. Or you can wait next week for the update on GV Wire just for you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Darius.
That was a great update from Council President. And by the way, what a cool background that is. That's in our studio at here, GV Wire Unfiltered. And one of these nights, Mr. McEwen, we're going to go, both of us are going to be in the studio. That's coming up soon, by the way. Okay, election monitors found on election day in Fresno. We have a full report on that with video. David Taub, our multimedia journalist, put that article together. Anything on that, Bill?
So basically, you had a lot of monitors. You had a lot of people out to vote, and the monitors said everything looked like it was going really good. I think the monitors, it will become more intense when they watch the counting of the ballots. Fresno's one of 6 counties in the state that the Trump administration sent monitors from the DOJ out here. As we reported, in part, they went to Fresno County because of questions about the curing of ballots in 2022 in Fresno County. But so far, everybody's saying election's going great. And
Okay.
then Darius, just
Yeah.
an update, Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat, is the projected winner of the New Jersey governor's race, according to NBC News.
Is he a Democrat or a Republican? Do you know?
No, she's a Democrat.
Okay,
Mikey Sherrill.
got it. Cool. Thank you, Bill. You know what? Talking about national politics, let's put up our New York City latest mayoral update. Mamdani Cuomo. Let's see if we have that slide. Oh, AP just now called it for Mamdani. Okay, there it is, folks. Mamdani with over 50% of the vote, 69% of votes counted. A blowout to Mr. Is it Silva or Sliva? I think it's Sliva. Curtis Sliva. Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York, that mounted an incredible attack on Zohran Mamdani, a young social democrat. Looks like, well, he's going to be New York's next mayor. You heard it here first, folks, at least in Central California. Trump advisors were paid over 1.6 million by the Albanian opposition. It's interesting. Slide 11. Let's put that up briefly, and then we're going to go to slide 12. Republicans in Congress show signs of angst over Trump's trade war. I think a lot of people are showing signs of angst, uncertainty. Are we going to pay more? Are we going to pay less? What about the stuff that we've already purchased from China? Some appliance. It's en route. We've already made commitments. What kind of price are we going to actually pay? Is it going to be tariff on the day and the hour that it arrives in a port? So there's a lot of angst on President Trump's tariff trade wars. And I was talking to a very close, very conservative Republican friend of mine today. And he said, you know, Trump went after Canada. Canada is our #1 partner and supporter and ally and one of our biggest trading partners. And for Trump to go after Canada he was very disappointed, and I thought he thought it was disgraceful. Monty forecast looked like a very good night for the Democrats. The blue wave that I talked about at the beginning of the show, and I've been talking about for several months, that could be arriving next year in U.S. Congress. especially on the House side, may have started tonight. People ultimately in our country show their frustration or their feelings either through their pocketbook or by voting at the polls, and it looks like it started tonight. If Republicans, and I am one, and the president doesn't bring more stability to price controls, to immigration, fix immigration, by the way. A lot of us want immigration fixed, fix legal immigration, and address the issues, not just lots of ICE, you know, picking up folks from restaurants, from Home Depot, etc. You may have to do that too, especially if they have criminal backgrounds. But fix immigration, fix legal immigration. You control Congress. This is the time to do it. So, um, and if that doesn't happen, there's going to be that's another reason where folks are going to push and support a blue wave. Bill, did you have a comment on this?
So, yes, in regard to the angst, so in the Senate, enough Republicans joined Democrats to vote against three of Trump's tariffs that he had imposed. It's largely symbolic because it would have to pass the House. It's not going to pass the House. It would also have to be signed by the president himself. That's not going to happen. But it was a good bellwether, an indicator of the increasing Republican frustration. In regard to what you said on immigration, Darius, we had a story up over the weekend. Trump administration's making it very hard to become a naturalized U.S. citizen. They're now conducting social media searches and sending people into your neighborhood and interviewing neighbors to find out who you are and this and that. They've made the test a lot tougher. We know here in Fresno, we have hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 every year become naturalized U.S. citizens. It's part of the American dream. The people that go through the process are very serious about it. And Trump administration, again, raising the bar on that, trying to make it more difficult. Uh, Federal government's becoming more powerful every day in our lives. Trump campaigned on getting the federal government out of people's lives. I hope people pay attention to that. Remember his campaign promise and then see what's going on in their everyday life.
Great points, Bill. Again, I keep going back to let's make legal immigration. Let's ratify that so people know. Here's what I got to do to become an immigrant, and emigrate to the United States. Or we just tell people you can't come here. Now the challenge with all of that, if our birth rate is close to zero in the whole country, it's slightly above 0% and slightly under 1%, and it's going to be we're going to have some challenges paying money into Social Security and other federal programs that rely on the payroll taxes and all the taxes that we pay to keep funding Social Security and some of the medical services that federal government provides. Let's see, Zoran, we talked about. Okay, with that, there's a lot of other things to cover, but Becky Wharton says Obama deported more than Trump. That is true. I think under President Obama during those 8 years, that was a maximum number of folks that were deported out of our country. Is that a true statement, Bill? It's some number like that. It's bigger than.
So, yeah, it's a true statement, but it always depends on how you count it. And so President Obama's policy was reject them at the border. They count as deportations. And then also his policy was to go after the worst criminals in the United States that were here illegally. Did a pretty good job at that. But then even President Obama ran into kind of this sanctuary city type mentality, and which started, mainly in California, and just created a lot of friction between immigration enforcement and put our local police forces in the middle of this, tension that was created. But yes, for this year, there's a chance the Trump administration will fall below the number of deportations by President Trump's administration.
Okay.
And certainly he's well short of the goals that he announced at the beginning of the year.
We have a lot more to cover, but we're down to about 20 minutes. So I'm going to bring in our next guest, who is a gunsmith, a master gun person, extraordinaire, ex-Marine, served in a bunch of different countries throughout the Middle East, been on a bunch of missions, most of which he said he cannot talk on the air or to anybody, and who he covered, by the way, who were some of the folks that he was on the detail on their security detail. But Leon Orndorff, welcome back to Unfiltered.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you. You're going to make me blush.
Okay, so tell us what's going on in the gun world, and then there's a lot of interest on Glocks, the world's
Yes.
number one most popular handgun, Glock 19, and why California is banning that gun.
Well, it kind of starts with AB 1127, aka the Glock Man. The main point of it is it's not, as far as 1127 goes, it's not just about Glocks. It targets any semi-automatic pistol deemed easily converted to fully automatic. It's the kind of vague wording that opens up doors to a lot more bans that people really don't realize. And it could eventually include dozens of handgun models, even rifles, depending on the interpretation. The main thing, like I said, you hear Glock ban on this one. That's kind of what's being targeted on this one. That was an easy one to find on that, and something that California kind of honed in on. The funny part of this actually, with California, this caused a nationwide situation. At this given point in time, Glock has said, you know what? We're good. We're going to move on to our next project and release the Glock V, not the Glock Gen 5, but a Glock V. And they are stopping production of all Gen 5s and down, minus the Glock 48 and Glock 43, as of November 10th.
So tell us about this Glock V series. What's so hot, and is it going to be available in California?
Eventually it will. It's not anything that's hot. It's more along the lines of, hey, we're going to make our gun compliant, because what happened afterwards when California passed 1127, other states ended up trying to sue Glock for it. So they just kind of threw their hands in the air and said, no, thank you. We'll just redesign our pistol a little bit so it follows the law.
And what are the new redesigns that all these new pistols are going through, specifically for California, right? Can you tell us about some of the features when you buy a new gun in California? What are some of the cool features that you don't get in a gun that is available elsewhere?
Cool features or California compliant features?
Okay, California compliant features. Let me rephrase that.
So one of the things that, as far as the drop list goes for California, that is the list where it lists what pistols we're allowed to have in California. Some of the features that are required is a magazine safety, meaning you can't pull the trigger. The weapon won't fire unless you have that, unless you have a magazine inserted on it. Another one is the loaded chamber indicator. That is basically if you have a round in the barrel loaded, okay, it has a little red symbol that says it's loaded. Those are two of the main features that you're going to see on a lot of pistols.
Got it. Okay. And anything new on rifles? And actually, you know what? Before we get to rifles, tell us about the new concealed carry weapons. Any changes that you talked to us about a year ago? There's lots
Yeah,
of changes coming. Kind of walk us through that real quick.
yeah. So the prices have been raised a little bit on CCW for initial as well as renewals. Okay, I think it's $80 and $130. If you're doing initial, it's $130 more from what it was, and the raise was $80 on the renewal process. Now, I understand a lot of people aren't happy about this one. The thing is, the sheriff's department or PD, they have a whole division for CCW. They need to fund their deputies and their officers on this. I know nobody likes it when prices get raised on things, but remember, there was a time when you tried to get your CCW, it took 6, 7, 8, 9 months to get it. This is going to help combat that. And again, I'm not speaking for the sheriff's department or anything else like that. But again, I see how those guys work in the CCW division. Those guys work, man. and they deserve to get paid too. And granted, it is from the deputies and officers, but if you want that expansion, we're going to have to pay a little bit more, unfortunately.
I want to ask you a question about, if you've never shot a gun, a handgun, and you're thinking, I should go buy a gun. What are the what is the process somebody should go? Somebody that has never owned or shot a handgun, but wants to, take that up. Oh, I
Mhm.
see Bill, do you have a question on the previous? Uh,
Well, I just wanted to point out that Sheriff's Department says their background checks and everything associated with the CCW, the goal is to make it revenue neutral. They hadn't raised their prices in 20 years, and they say with the new prices, we're not going to make a dime extra. And I would point out that I don't know if all of the people, but most of the people that are doing backgrounds and that kind of thing, they're retired extra help people. Uh, they're not highly paid. That's just the reality. And they bring the people in, they share the load. A lot of them work maybe 20 hours a week, or I think under California law, they can work 1,040 or 960 hours a year. And so, yeah, people grumble about when prices go up, but in this case, hadn't seen a price increase in 20 years. I don't think the sheriff's department office is lying to us when they say our goal is to make this revenue neutral.
Chris Lopez has got Chris Gonzalez Lopez has got a question. Any chance of improving CCW permitting times and renewals? I think, Leon, you just answered it. It sounds like the new dollars could go, and what Bill was saying, they're not going to make more money. They're just going to make sure they cover their costs, but provide better services. So the renewal, is it fair to say that the renewal time should decrease? I know none of us work in the sheriff's department or the PD. We don't know.
At this time, Sheriff's Department, they've been pretty good about it, usually within a 2 to 3 week turnaround as far as renewals go. Remember, you can apply for your CCW 30 days prior
Got
to
it.
renew.
Okay. So let me go back to my question. And by the way, another breaking news: Virginia State Senator Ghazala Hashmi wins Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. She is a Democrat and will be the first Muslim woman to win statewide office in U.S. history. Okay. Congratulations to Ms. Ghazala Hashmi of Virginia. Uh, okay, so if somebody wants to buy a gun,
Mhm.
And has never owned a gun, what process should they follow? What do you do?
So, not to sit and throw a plug in for Duck and Cover Tactical, the best thing to do is kind of come to a gun shop that you can kind of trust or walk in. I know it's intimidating, and ask questions. Most of the time, what we're going to ask whenever we kind of put a couple things in your hand is we're probably going to send you 2 blocks down to the range and tell you to go rent that firearm and go and shoot. See how it goes. Let the staff know, hey, look, I'm new. I'm just trying some stuff out. I'm interested in buying. That's one route you can go. The other route, and that's kind of the hard part with firearms, you have to buy one in order to kind of train with one for the most part. After that, take classes, whether it's at Duck and Cover, whether it's at the range, whether it's at the firing line, whether it's an instructor. Please be a certified instructor that you know. Go and take classes. Educate. I know we got told this when we're kids. Knowledge is power. In this case, knowledge really is power.
Do you have entry level classes where people go, hey, I'm going to come in and learn all the rules, safety rules, state laws, local laws about a gun, how to carry it, how to store it,
Absolutely,
how to. Do you have those kind of what are the,
absolutely.
okay.
We have the firearms familiarization class that basically what that one is, it's a 4 hour class that gets you through the California law, gets you through the safety rules. We ask that you have your own firearm first. It's kind of one of those things because we also teach you how to take apart and clean your firearm too.
Mm,
So it gets you a lot of good basics right off the get-go.
okay. I think that's let's see if we have anything else to cover. Oh, let's put up slide 38. A couple of new guns. And by the way, if you want more information on any of our Second Amendment issues, you can just scan that QR code. Takes you to uh, GB Wire's Second Amendment category on a lot of information on gun laws. Oh, by the way, you talked about magazine capacity changes. The U.S. Supreme Court, is that still going through the Supreme Court? Where are we
Uh,
at with that?
yeah, it's still going. Just hang out. Like I said, the biggest thing that we've been getting phone calls lately about is 1127. That's been passed. As far as everything else out there, magazine capacity, assault rifles, everything else, or quote unquote assault rifles, everything else, that's been in court. That's it. It's in
Okay.
limbo.
Okay. Bill, did you have a comment or question on that?
Yeah, I had a question for Leon, and thanks for being on the show tonight. You talked about the features of guns, that required features for guns to be sold in California, and I didn't really get a read from you. Do you think they're a hassle, or do you think they're really good safety features? I mean, the one you said with the red indicator indicating it's loaded, to my mind, that seemed like a pretty good idea.
I mean, that one's more of the non-annoying ones. I can understand why it's there. One thing I do believe, as far as it goes with California, I think we missed a lot in firearm safety. It skipped that generation with a lot of laws, or just not being passed down and firearms being taboo. I will tell you the magazine safety on that one, that's annoying, period. I don't think it helps. I think if anything, it makes it harder for someone like me to work on those firearms, and two, having things that stop your gun, as far as like that magazine safety for doing what it's supposed to do, can cause a problem when you're working on it, when you're clearing it, when you're trying to unload it, all those different types of things. Not in every situation, obviously, rack, but if you're trying, as far as like the slide goes or something, but if you're trying to, like I said, drop the firing pin or drop the hammer or anything else like that, or disassemble your weapon, it adds an extra step.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Let me go back again, ask this question again. So AB 1127
Yes.
targets cruciform trigger bars.
Yes.
What is that?
That's,
We have a picture of it on the screen.
yeah, actually, that's upside down. If you had, it's actually inside the frame of that. That's showing the striker. The cruciform trigger is one of the triggers that is used in a Glock and a lot of the Glock clones. The biggest thing of why this is being targeted on this is because Glock has it on theirs, and somebody made something called a Glock switch, which what that does is when you hook it to the back of your Glock, you can actually see it on the one closest lowest. That looks like a Glock switch to me from here. When you pull the trigger, it makes it fire full auto. This is a federally banned part. Again, that Glock switch is a federally banned part. So California just kind of doubled down. And what's going on is that the bill doesn't stop criminals. Where this started was by a criminal in Sacramento obtained an already federally legal part, that Glock switch, and converted it and used it to commit a crime. So just doubling down on this one, making your pistol fully automatic and having that part, that's two right there. The bill 1127 doesn't stop criminals. It ties the hands of responsible gun owners. And that's about where this is going on this one. The big point I want to make on it is that this isn't just for Glocks. The wording is extremely dangerous that they used in this, okay? The wording they use is easily converted semi-automatic pistols. That can be the M&P, that can be the any Springfield, the XDME, the Echelon that just came out, a P320. Any key word of saying easily converted without really defining it is very dangerous. There's no list right now of this either, by the way. They didn't give me a list and say, oh, these are all the pistols on the list. They're still figuring that out at this time.
That's the last sentence on what's on the screen that Leon was referring to. It is intended to curb the spread of easily convertible automatic weapons often used by criminals.
The problem is with easily converted, this can transfer over to rifles. This can transfer over to just about anything with easily converted. This is very dangerous on where they're playing with this one.
Okay. I think that sums it up unless you or Bill have anything else to add for tonight.
Uh,
No, I'm good, Darius. Thanks again for being on the show, Leon, and thanks to Patience Milrod earlier. Uh, Great discussion on two highly different topics. Second Amendment rights and guns in California and the new laws, and then on where is Fresno supposed to grow. Both
Exact,
both complicated and both subjects that need a full airing and discussion by people on all sides.
exactly. Patience gave a really good perspective on growth and what it should mean and what who should pay the cost. A lot of interesting comments from her, and of course Leon, as always, trying to shed information on um, safety, security, gun laws in California, and what to expect. Okay, with that, that's a wrap. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a fantastic week. See you all next Tuesday evening. Take care.